Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Baobab Chat. I'm so looking forward to today's conversation. I'm looking forward to talking to the panelists. We have a great team of panelists today. But before we get into that, I just want to lay out what today's topic is about. We are speaking on adulting. Where is the adulting playbook? I mean, all of us are going through this thing called adulting, called life, and a lot of us were caught way off guard when we left school and entered into the adult world. Man, I know I was caught off guard a lot of times, and I'm pretty sure I am not the only one. I mean, we know that adulting and this life can just throw you a bunch of curveballs. But before we get into that, I want to introduce you to my amazing panel of guests. We have some awesome people on the lineup today. We have a few people, and I'm just going to allow them to actually just introduce themselves. So I'm going to start off with Zbo, and then we're going to go to Taiwo, then Ole, and then Ryan. So Zbo, please introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm Sibonga Bonke Masego from Ermelo, Umalanga. I'm self-employed, I'm a car fanatic, I enjoy traveling, I like reading, and yeah, just a bubbly person out there and enjoy socializing and sharing knowledge and experiences that I have come across in, my adulthood life. Yeah, that's about it.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Taiwo Adeyemi. I'm from Nigeria and I'm a guidance counselor. It's so interesting to talk about this topic. My place will say adulthood na scam. So I'm amazed to talk about adulthood with you amazing guys. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ole Wuching. I am 28 years old. I am a single mother, and I am a content producer for Vision View Sports Radio, and trying to venture more into the media world as like a producer for TV and stuff. I'm a creative in general, so yeah, lots of things I want to dabble into. And I'm interested to be talking in about this topic, especially because I'll be entering into my 30s, something I really look forward to, and just what to remove from the 20s and what I can take into the 30s to make it more of a prosperous adulting journey. Yeah, so I'm excited.
Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Ryan. I am a supply chain and administration manager at Green Thumb Hydroponics. This adulting journey that I found myself in has been challenging to say the least, but in the past few years, I've learned so much. And one thing I'm passionate about is learning and also sharing whatever knowledge I gain. So I'm really, really excited to be a part of this panel. These guys are awesome, and I can guarantee you guys are going to experience some great insights from the topic that is going to be discussed today. It's a great topic, so make sure you stay tuned for this one.
Thank you, man. I am just as excited because I remember growing up, I didn't really get much guidance on this adult thing. We were just thrown in the deep end. We were just expected to, swim with our heads above water. But as we enter into adulthood, there's a lot of things that we tend to learn and a lot of mistakes that we also make as young adults because it just keep throwing challenges at us, and we just tend to try and handle it as best as we can. But now we know that this adulting thing, oh guys, sometimes it kicks you in the ribs, kicks you in the ribs. Because sometimes if you went out and like, oh my goodness, finances, oh my goodness, career, oh my goodness, relationships, and we face so many challenges. But what do you think are one of the biggest challenges that we as young adults face? And I'm just going to throw this question out there, and anyone who wants to just jump in and grab it, grab it. But what is it? What do you think the biggest challenge is that young adults actually do face?
One
Matthew,
thing
let's
that
start
I
with you.
find that we people struggle with is direction. They don't know what they need to do in life. So you come from school and then you are thrown in the deep end. So what do I do? Do I go work? Do I go to university? Do I start my own business? I don't know what to do. And then that culminates into various other aspects where you cannot find a way in life and you don't even know how to spend your money.
And let me add to what Ryan says. I think another issue, another big problem that is associated with adulthood is finance, lack of money. And money boils down to a lot of other challenges because money is important. Okay, so there are things that most adults want to do, they love to do, they have the flair for it, but then there are no financial means to get them accomplished. So for me, I feel like finance is a very huge challenge in adulthood, and if we can find a way out of money, we'll be able to get a lot of things done easier.
Um, I'll get into finances just now. I just want to take from what Ryan was saying, like from coming out of school into the real world, adulting and stuff. I don't know if enough aptitude tests are being conducted. And what I mean, I'm like, do you know who you are entering into the big world? Like you're in high school, we're all doing the same subjects and stuff. And then you get to grade 10 where you have to choose subjects so that you can choose the career that you want to pursue and stuff. But are we prepared for that itself? Because I'm looking at myself. I did math. I was terrible at math. I was horrible. And I only took it because of the pressure of I don't want to do maths literacy because I felt like maybe I'm too dumb for it. Like I don't want to look too dumb and not taking the real math that everyone is taking. But I was failing in that math only because I'm trying to match up with like what everyone else is doing. And I'm not even using math at all. I'm a creative. I did drama. No math whatsoever. And I think that's another thing. Like, are we now taking our high school students and preparing them and telling them what you're great at? This is your strength. Let's grow this, and don't feel like you have to do maths and science and whatever just because everyone else is doing it. Because that's what the world is telling you you need to be great in because it broadens your horizons. Which yes, I mean if you do maths and all these things, um, those are stable careers. Those are careers where like the finances do like come in. Whereas with the arts, it's a gamble and stuff. But that's what I'm skilled at. That's what I'm talented in. So isn't it a thing of like now where the schooling system needs to strengthen these other things? So I think maybe we just need to look at those foundations from school, from varsity, and then yeah, those kind of things need to be given that attention before we can look at adulting and all of that stuff.
That is true. So, do you have
I,
any
I,
comments on that?
I personally feel I personally feel like one of the most challenging things about adulthood as well is finding balance. Balance in terms of work, your career, establishing yourself at the same time, having to have a social life, family. You have so many responsibilities and challenges. One day you can plan your day or your week or have a proper solid schedule, and then something out of nowhere, it's just like an obstacle, it comes in the way. Now you have to rearrange everything, you know what I mean? But the only thing I always tell people in conversations that as long as you indulge in serving others, that's the one of the best career advices you can get. Because at times people venture into different careers in sense of, I just want to make a lot of money, or this is where it's guaranteed that I'll find a job. And at the end of the day, you get frustrated because now you are doing something you're not really passionate about. You are doing something for the sake of, making money, and already finding balance on its own, it's challenging. And now having to have this extra load on your shoulders, it can really, really be one of the toughest things that young adults come across.
That is so true. And I actually want to touch on one of the comments that Ole actually said, and also one of the comments that popped up on Facebook from Mandy Petrus. And it's got to do more with our
Yeah.
education system. So, like, a lot of people who know me know that I'm a full on creative. Everything I do is creative. And this is all I've known since I was a child. And, growing up in school, because my marks in certain subjects were good, people assumed I was good at everything. I think at some point in high school, I was actually pressurized to take up physics and pure math. And that was the furthest thing from who and actually what I was. And we tend to always put pressure on kids from a very young age to go in a certain direction, even if their skill set is not for that. What do you think can be done in schooling career to actually kind of help us better push us into the directions where our skill sets are and where our interests are? Because I remember if I was sort of pushed into art and pushed into the things I was good at, I personally feel like I would have been much more further ahead right now. So what do you think that the education system could have done in order to assist us better in walking into the direction of adulting where we can find our skill sets and where we can actually operate in?
I guess
Raj to us.
I mean, I've known that this, so I guess I'll ask. I don't know. I don't want to be lying here, but is it in China or somewhere where if you are good at something, like if they pick up from a young age that you are good at piano, they are going to take that and they're going to grow you in that. Like they are going to make sure that you spend hours and hours and hours taking that. And I think maybe that's where we need to get into. Like I think once you start seeing what a child is good at, I mean, look at sports. You see like our young boys or whoever who are good at sports, they get scholarships and then they are prepared, like they are focused on that. People then put their energy and time and all of that in that. And I think maybe that's what needs to, I don't know how we can help the schooling system kind of channel that, but I think if they can start finding programs into harnessing people's skills and stuff, I think that's how people start being progressive and prosperous in like these in what they supposed to do in their life journeys and stuff. I think we'll be better politicians, will be better mathematicians, will be better teachers, and all of that stuff because we would have been kind of groomed into those things that we're good at. So yeah, I don't know. I personally feel like maybe it does have to start with the educational system, um, and just stop putting pressure on certain subjects, being like, if you do this, then yay, you're gonna get open doors to this university, this university. Why can't universities and just educational systems be open for everyone and not just certain subjects and stuff? I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah.
No, you definitely are. You definitely are.
And
Anyone else would like to add?
I also think that Ole has raised a very important point, and our educational system should begin to look beyond um, those core subjects and begin to build capabilities in students. When students have digital literacy, when students build capacities for themselves outside what is in the school curriculum, I think we'll do better because the school is basically for knowledge, right? So when a child goes to school, he's because you see that this child has certain strengths, he's pushed to do a particular subject. But in most cases, most of us didn't even end up in the sectors that we were while we were in school, right? I know a lot of people who did great courses, but check them on Instagram. They are probably makeup artists selling wigs, and they are veered towards career. So I feel that the school should begin to ask questions, help people know where their strengths lie, and then help them gear towards the future rather than just pushing us to do the sciences, pushing us to do the arts, and in most cases that is not where our strength lies. So the school has a lot of responsibilities in that regards.
Yeah.
I agree. Ryan?
Excuse me. One thing that I find is that too much of the onus has been put on the government. Too much of the onus has been put on the educational system. While yes, I will concede that they have a crucial part in the development of younger people, what we also need to do is we need to address the issues happening at home. We need to address the issues happening at a more personal level. That when you look at it this way, if you are in a if you look at it this way, you need to your upbringing, the way that your families cater to your needs, the way that your skills are developed, the way that your aptitude is harnessed. It comes from the home, where if your parents are able to identify certain things in you, it will eventually come to the fore. Because another thing we must remember is that not everyone can afford a tertiary education. In our country, for example, some people can't even afford a secondary education. Certain cultures have limited people from progressing further and even go into a high school level. And that is something that needs to change, because those are the individuals that really struggle with this adulting thing, because that's literally being thrown. They are being thrown into the deep end, and they don't know which way is up. For some of us who had the opportunity to go to a tertiary level education, we do face our challenges. However, if it just so happens that our our actual upbringings are nurtured for the gifts that we have been given, you may find that we are nurtured better. So it is. I personally believe it is not on the government to change the next generation. It is on us, the future parents, the people that is going to be raising the next generation. We are the ones that need to institute certain things in order for the next generation to succeed at adulting from a much younger age.
That
Yes,
is so
I
true.
no, that is true. I 100% agree, but at the same time, we are such an evolving world. And I look at my mom's generation and our generation. My mom looks at me and she's like, my child, what you guys are going through, we did not go through. The challenges that you guys are facing in terms of getting careers and your finances and stuff. By the time they were 25, they had their jobs. It wasn't hard for them to get a job. It wasn't hard for them to start their lives and their families and stuff. My mom was married at 25. My dad as well had child. All her peers, they all had jobs. Like, in fact, apparently it was a thing of like if you were at home, sitting at home, like that was illegal. Like that, you were not supposed to be sitting at home not working. And but now look at our generation. Unemployment is so high. It's so hard to find jobs. Like steady careers and stuff. And like I'm turning 30, but even kind of like making like racks and racks and racks, start my own life. I'm struggling with that. Whereas in my mom, 25, she had her family, all of that. And very few people have mastered that already. You know, so like just within different eras. What I mean, I can tell my child something, but I don't know what his generation is gonna be like. What he's gonna be like at 25. Like, how are their career opportunities gonna be like? Because I mean, there's so many things that are involved in that corruption. You know, um, if my child can't get a job because of corruption, I mean, I might have done everything I could have done to raise them up and say you are skilled and talented in this. This is how you have money. This is how you do this. But then if the system doesn't allow him, so there's only so much we can do. There's a lot to be addressed. It's not just at home. It's also the government that we need to look at. It's also educational systems. It's all of these factors.
I'd actually like to interject there with you, Ole. You mentioned that at 25 your mother was married and stuff like that, and this was a goal I was also setting for myself when I was in high school. I was setting up my life. I was like, at age 20, I will have my job. I will be in my career. At age 23, I will get married. I'll have kids at age 25, and this and that. And I was literally planning out my life. And I sit back and I look at that plan and I laugh because I'm like, oh my goodness, has this life thing just taken me off course completely. I literally thought I would be married by now. I look at some of my cousins, some of my family members, and they've got their lives together. But then when it came to me, I was just like, my life was completely different. And I know a lot of us actually just set our lives out like that. We're like, no, we're going to be doing this at this age. We're going to be doing that at that age. And we tend to not make room for the challenges and mistakes that we might make in this growing up thing. So I just want to ask, like, what do you think are the biggest mistakes that we do make as young adults or as teenagers entering into adulthood? What are the biggest mistakes that we tend to make? I think I want to hear Spoo give us an answer.
I think I want to touch up on something. Like, I think, with our system, our educational system as well, I think it would be more adventurous if they were to teach about financial literature and also add on to skill sets or skills of how to sell yourself through life in a certain yes, they're teaching us to get good grades, graduate, and look for a job and whatsoever. But some people after high school, for example, they don't have the financial means to go to varsity. So now they have to stay at home. And but if they had like the skill sets of how to sell themselves through life, they can be innovative, how to make money, how to, you know, do something for themselves instead of them waiting for employment. Because I mean, nowadays getting a job, it's quite tough. Then us having to sit back and, you know, moan and groan and say, you know what, I'm looking for a job, I'm not getting any job. You get the youth is getting frustrated on a daily basis. You understand? So if one could think on their own as to, okay, I cannot get a job, but what can I do, you know, to earn a living, you know? And at the same time, doing so, how do I manage my money? And, you know, have that financial literature of how do I manage my money? How do I save and work towards this dream? Because at the end of the day, it's not about how much money you have. As long as you have a good idea and know what you
Mm-hmm.
want to achieve, you can work towards it slowly, slowly. And you don't have to wait for a job and get a boss and say, okay, do this, do that. You must be able to think on your own. So I think if the education system were to, you know, improve in a sense of the individuals, youngsters can think on their own what to do and also have financial literature as to how do I manage this money so that I can build, for example, generational wealth. Because we don't know what tomorrow may bring. You know, today's challenges can be worse for our kids, or it can be the economy can be, you know, more strenuous for our kids. So I think that's also one of the things that you can look at. And by doing so, you can create employment yourself and improve the quality of, you know, add value to other people's lives, you know. And yeah,
Yeah, I think, at age 10 or so, I was stressing out of my mind. And I was like, oh my goodness, I do not know how to use an ATM. And that was now my biggest challenge when I thought, I would enter into adulthood. I thought I must learn to use an ATM. I must now learn to budget. I must learn to do all of these things. And you know what? When we used to sit in LO, and I used to always wonder to myself, what are taxes? What is budgeting? What is financial
you know,
difficulties? What are all of these things? And sometimes I look back and I wish that they would have taught us these things, because a lot of these things get thrown onto us immediately when we get into the working space. Nobody warns you and
Mm-hmm.
tells you, oh, you're going to have to deal with taxes. You're going to have to deal with budgeting. You're going to have to deal with all of these things that are going to come with this. And when we don't know these things and if we are not able to prepare well, we tend to make a lot of mistakes. Some of us don't even know after 5 years of working that, hey, I must do tax returns. A lot of us do not know those things until someone tells us, hey, you need to start doing something. So we tend to make a lot
exactly.
of mistakes in getting into this. So what do you think are those common mistakes that we do make as young adults because of a lack of knowledge? I think I'm gonna
Okay,
throw
I
this
I
question.
think that aside financial, can you hear me? Okay, yeah. I think that aside
Yes.
financial literacy, one of the mistakes we make as adults is thinking that school is enough to get rich. School is enough to make money. Like once you go to school, that is everything you need. But then we are advancing towards a world that you might not even need a university degree to have money. Okay, but I feel like so much emphasis have not been placed on this. Am I saying school is not important? No, that is not what I am saying. But I'm saying that aside getting an education, there is more to having skills. But probably would not emphasize so much. I have been to school, I've read, I have spoken English, and my English have not given me any, they have not put anything in my pocket. Okay, so I feel like aside the fact that we need to get learned, we should also talk to young adults, help them understand that skills are important and these are what will fetch money. Because me, I'm interested in that money part. Okay, so I feel like what is more important is skills that will fetch money better than just spending so much. I know people who have PhDs, people who have master's degrees, who are doing well because of the education they have acquired, yes, but at the same time, they also have probably side gigs to help them push for more funds, sort of.
You know, you know what I think our other mistakes that we do as young adults? I think we're not running our own races. I think we're trying to compete with other people's races. We are
True.
like just way ahead of ourselves. Like we want to see how Sabandiban is doing it, and because they're doing it like that, I'm gonna be doing it like that, and that's where we're missing the point, and that's how we get lost in the race, and that's why you end up maybe now still doing things out of own moral capability. Like you're just deceiving yourself. We start deceiving ourselves, or yeah, there's just so many factors. But I just feel like we need to start finding our tune in life, finding our goals, and not necessarily letting it go with the world's way of doing things. You know, um, don't do what everyone else is doing. Find your way. Find what God says you must do. You know, and how you've been taught and what works for you. Obviously, yes, there is certain things from the world that you can pick up. There are people that you can gain knowledge from and wisdom from, and people who can lead you and guide you. But also, just always remember what's your lane, what's your route, what's your destination, what's your purpose. You know, um, and I think in that way you won't lose yourself, and you'll stay true to your journey. Do you know what I mean? Yes, I think that's a really really big um, going with what everyone else does.
Yeah.
So, like, to touch on that, hence I said earlier that um, indulging in serving others is one of the best career advices one can do. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if you like venturing into music, go do that, and play your music. If you want to be an accountant, like I myself, I'm a bookkeeper accountant, and I've started a small farming project. And like I've always thought to myself, okay, yes, you have these qualifications. Yes, you have your master's degree, you have your honors and whatsoever, and that's for you. If you today you have kids or your own family, if you were to pass on all that, it's all that you've accomplished in the sense of education, you take with you. You know what I mean? How does kids, what will the kids live off from and whatsoever? So hence I say that having to do investments, business, or have those entrepreneurial skills of, if I do work on this project right now, in the next generation or two to come, even if they don't have, some, I don't want to use the word capable of going to school, or they're not having a good intellectual level or whatsoever, but maybe they're battling with school, but at least there must be some for them to that they can do, and the family business or whatsoever. And another thing I want to look at is that the farming project that I've actually started now, which is it's still on a small scale, but it's in a village where like my mom grew up and stuff. The life there, it's the quality of life there. It's still very downscale. It's on the low. So when I started this project, I know that the person who helps there is people from the village. You know what I mean? Whoever is looking after this project and managing it, it's people from there. You know what I mean? At least I'm trying to also add value and the quality of you know of life of the people from that village. So sometimes looking for a job, and hence you said earlier that one is working and competing, or they're feeling pressure from friends and whatnot. Just stick to your lane, know what you want, and add value into the human life in whatever aspect that one can. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Brian, do you have any insights on that? I think your mic is on
Steffi,
mute.
okay, there we go. Steph, you actually touched on it, where you have this timeline that you are focused on. Like, for example, Steph, you said you want to get married by 25. I expected to be at a certain level in my career with my degrees at a certain point in my life, and it didn't work out that way. And it really derails you. It throws you off, because what happens is when you set a timeline, you are putting added pressure on yourself. You're like, okay, I'm 24 now, I'm not married, I'm still single. What is wrong with me? It's a mistake that we make, and it hinders your success to the point where you are so fixated on some of the smaller things that the bigger picture that you had for yourself is no longer there, because you're focusing on the smaller, finer details. Yes, the finer details are important, but at the end of the day, what's more important? Under, Reaching a specific timeline that you've established for yourself, or leading a successful life. Another thing is that people have a skewed view on success. Success isn't only becoming a millionaire. Success isn't only achieving a certain career goal or starting a business, because we touched on how some people aren't geared towards mathematics and physics and science. Some people aren't geared towards entrepreneurship. It's a harsh truth, but if you think about it, that not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Not everyone has those skills. Not everyone has that drive within them. Because if you think about it, if everyone becomes an entrepreneur, everyone is still going to work for someone else. It defeats the purpose. Now, I'm not saying that entrepreneurship is not important. It is one of the most important things in building an economy, because it's entrepreneurs that give jobs to other people. However, when you focus too much on entrepreneurship, you forget that you still need someone to do the work for you as an entrepreneur. The whole point of being an entrepreneur is you're starting something you're passionate about, and you're giving opportunities to people who have the skills that you do not. So I just feel that when young people are planning their lives, they sometimes plan too far ahead, or they just neglect the fact that your timeline is not a deadline. You will not die if you do not meet your specific timeline. So that goes into another thing of contingency plans. We do not set contingency plans. Okay, so let me give you an example. I had to drop out of university a few years ago, and I had no contingency plan at the time. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do it, to be in that particular career. However, it didn't work out that way. And at the time, my life felt very derailed. And it was actually around the time me and Steffi became friends. So there's a silver lining in that cloud. However, point I'm making is that I was able to bring myself back to myself and say, listen, now I know why you dropped out. You know why you have a problem. However, that being said, now is the time that you pick yourself back up, because it is not a sailor's ability to sail in smooth waters that'll prove that he's a good captain. It's his ability to withstand a storm that will determine how good the captain of the ship really is.
Mm. You know what?
Interesting.
You- all of you are spot on with this, because we have all now experienced these things. And I also want to take it to relationships. I actually saw a comment earlier that was speaking about a lot of relationship mistakes that we make as young adults. A lot of us will, when we're getting into our young adulthood, we find someone and we become so in love. And then we start to learn what this love thing is. And a lot of us, shamefully, a lot of us invest so much time into relationships and stuff like that that sometimes we even lose sight of where we are going, or what we want to do. So what is it? Because guys, maybe I need some advice also, because I don't really have the 101 on relationships and stuff like that. I mean, some of us are still looking, but at the same time we're also busy with careers. So when it comes to relationships, guys, oh my lord, what do you think is the mistake that we are always making when it comes to that?
No, please give me advice, guys, because I'm the same.
Okay, I uh, all right. I feel
Okay.
that
I need all that.
okay. I feel like one mistake we're making as adults in relationships is thinking or having a thought that love is enough to sustain a relationship. I feel like we need to change that mindset and probably reset our brains like back to factory settings to help us understand that it's hard work, it's commitment, it's diligence. Okay, so other than just thinking, okay, I'm physically attracted or I'm emotionally attracted, is just enough. No, there is so much work. You know, I saw a comment one time some time ago, and the comment says that my my bride price should be paid to me, because what my eyes have seen in this relationship, like my eyes have seen pepper. So I feel like people who are in the relationship should give more time to commitment rather than just dwelling in the physical. So once it comes to relationship, it's more of a commitment than just love. So young people should begin to understand that love is good, love is great, but love is not sufficient to keep a relationship.
I think for me, in the previous relationship that I was in, um, I think yeah, love is one of them. We tend to look at like just certain aspects, and we don't look at the holistic picture. For instance, you don't look at the compatibility in terms of other areas. Maybe you just look at the physical, or you look at the spiritual, which is great. But have you looked at your values? Are your values in alignment? How are your goals and dreams and ambitions in alignment? The things that you believe in, does he believe in them as well? Um, the way you want to raise kids, do you guys have the same vision for that? And those are things you can clash with in the future, but you haven't discussed them. Like, as soon as you start dating, now all of a sudden you start hating each other in this relationship and stuff. So I think we don't have conversations about like who you really are as a person, and like now when you come and join with this person, are you guys in the same wavelength? Do you understand one another, or are you just going to clash because you don't believe in the same things, and then that's how your relationship just starts getting old? So I think we don't look at values. Do we like our values in alignment? Are we compatible emotionally, intellectually, um, physically, spiritually, all these things? We have to, I think those are things we need to look at when getting into relationships. And that's what I had to learn previously in my previous relationship. And that's what I have to take on into my next relationship. And I think also not dumbing myself down to fit someone else. I think I need to be true to who I am, like knowing who I am and going into the next relationship so that the person does not derail me from where I'm headed and what I've planned, my vision and purpose. Don't come now and say, "Oh, you're my wife, therefore A, B, and C." Look, I will be your wife and I will submit as your wife, but do not derail me from God's purpose and my plan. So yeah, I think just knowing who you are also kind of important thing that you don't use yourself in a relationship as well.
And the amazing thing is, as Ole was talking, it's just the ladies that are resonating with it. I don't know why. Maybe the guys are not in alignment with what she's saying.
Guys, we want your opinion.
Because I see that Spongy is
like
not even.
I think a few days ago, I was having a chat with a friend. They posted on the status that if a person cannot love me the way I want them to love me, then it can't work, or in their own certain love language. And then my comment was, people have different love languages. You understand? People express love in different ways. You know what I mean? One use words, others they more touchies, others people have different, they show gestures, those little things. People have different ways of expressing themselves. So if you saying now, if someone cannot love you the way you want them to love you, don't you think somewhere somehow you kind of limiting their true love, or the love they have in its purest form? They can't express that fully because now they need to learn a certain love language that suits you, and you know what I mean. And I think that's also one of the challenges. Plus, with us young adults, we're still growing, we're still learning a lot of things. So we will go through different phases as individuals. For example, if maybe you met your lady, she was all natural, she doesn't like makeup and whatsoever. That's how you like your lady, and then she will go through a makeup phase. You know what I mean? Now, or maybe she was one person who was introverted. She's always at home, or she's always doing her own things. Now she wants to go out there and explore and go to parties or restaurants or more social gatherings. Sh- You know what I mean? Then people now they start having this different views on their person, or and do not allow the other individual to be not to lose their own identity because of the relationship. I think that's also one of the challenges, that do not lose your individual identity in a relationship, and you will with time grow and you'll go through certain phases. So again, it's a matter of understanding, trust, and again, it's a commitment. You know what I mean? Don't let those things now get to you in a certain, allow a person to grow as an individual and allow yourselves to grow as a couple. You know what I mean?
Ryan?
Awesome.
Okay, so you guys made awesome points. There's not much I can add to that. However, what I can say is this, that it all ties in with what has been said previously. It was said that you need to be compatible, so emotionally, spiritually, um, you need that attachment to someone. So I have this, I don't want to say rule, but when I get into a relationship, I want to be friends with this person. I don't want to be like, okay, let's get to know each other while we're in a relationship. It kind of defeats the purpose, because you need to know, well, sorry for the graphic image, but you need to know who you're getting into bed with. You can't just randomly, okay, you attractive, I'm gonna go with you. Okay, you're not who I want, now let me go this side, let me go that side. You flip flop in between relationships. You are a relationship hobo. You cannot find a home because you are rushing to get into something where, if you took the time to actually know someone, it will be very beneficial. If I can give a few examples, I have these friends. I'm not going to mention their names. However, they had a thing for one another, and the girl in the relationship said, "Look, I do like you, you like me, but we're not going to date yet. Let us get to know each other." It took them a full year of getting to know each other, and they are extremely happy. And this weekend, they actually celebrated their third year anniversary together, and they are so happy together. They complement each other so well, and my heart is warmed by this, because that's the type of relationship that we should aim for, not something physical, not something emotional. Yes, those stuff are, it's very important, but at the end of the day, sexual attraction will fade. You grow emotionally as you get older, and what is left when all that stuff is gone? You need a friendship with the person you are with. You are literally starting a life with someone. So how can you be with someone who you don't get along with? If you're just getting along physically, it's going to die. If you just love the person, it's going to fade. You need that commitment, like you were saying. However, you also need to have that friendship bond, because there's times that you need some sort of support. And if the person doesn't know you, they don't know the way your mind ticks, if they're not your friend, how can they support you in your time of need? The Bible says the two shall become one. Now, many people will think that it's an instantaneous thing. It is still a process. After you get married, it is still a process that you go through. If I can put it this way, I have another group of friends, another two friends. They also together for about 3 years, and they really have a friendship to the point where they don't do stuff without the other person. They develop this thing where their relationship is centered around their friendship, their emotional connection, their everything that they are compatible with is centered around that, mostly because they have developed a strong bond through the course of the relationship. And I feel that as young people, we are so fixated on the physical. I saw something, it actually said that this generation is a generation that is hyper focused on sex. We are hyper focused on the fact that we want things now, instant gratification. We're the instant generation, instant coffee, instant tea, instant this, instant that. And now we want instant relationships, we want instant love. That's not how this works. It is a process, and we need to acknowledge that the process is long and the process can be painful, but it is worth it at the end of the day.
That is so
Awesome.
true. And you know what? When we, I think sometimes when we get into relationships as young people, we go in with the wrong intentions. We are looking at what we can sometimes gain from it. So we go in there with selfishness and not with selflessness. And that is where we step the first foot wrong, is the fact that we are not thinking about something holistically. We're just looking at, ooh, I want you, you hot, I want you next to me, I want you by my side. And we're not necessarily looking at, is there a friendship? Is there proper compatibility between us? Can we actually live together and be together for the rest of our life? We are not looking at the mindsets of people. We are not looking at the characters of people. We are looking what is presenting itself in front of us. I mean, yes, we know looks are important. We need to be attracted to each other, but that can't be all that you are attracted to. There's a mindset you need to be attracted to. There's a character you need to be attracted to. These are a lot of things. And I also actually want to touch on what Bo had said earlier. There are love languages. Now, I'm not sure how many people know about this, but guys, everyone loves differently. And you can't just expect someone to just love you in your love language. You have to love someone with your love language and learn to love them within their love language. And this was actually said in a meeting I was not so long ago. And another important thing we also have to do is surround yourself. Surround yourselves with relationships that you could one day aspire to. One thing that I do, I have a lot of friends who are way older than me, who are married, who have families and stuff like that. And a lot of people look at me like, but you are so young. Why are you always with these married people? It is because I am gaining wisdom from them. And as young adults, we sometimes fail to sit in these conversations with older people and draw wisdom from them. Wisdom is very important. You cannot go through this life just thinking you know everything because we don't know everything, guys. We don't know everything. In life, you are constantly learning. And one thing I've learned to do is sit down and listen. Sit down and learn. Sit down and just be like, hey, I don't know everything. I have made mistakes. Maybe it's time I stop putting myself into before and let me actually just sit and learn what this life is actually about. And when you start to do that, I think that is when you also start to learn about who you are. And I remember that when I got into varsity, I had to go through a whole transition because when I was in high school, I didn't know who I was. I was trying to figure out who this person is. And as soon as I got into varsity, who I was actually started to be revealed to me. And that's also another flaw in relationships, not just with romantic partners, but also with friendships. We do not always know who we are. Therefore, we do not know how to present ourselves to people. We do not know how to act around people because we do not even know our own identity. And I think within this generation where we are living in, because of social norms, because of social pressures, we tend to lose who we are in this generation and we tend to take on a characteristic that is not ours. Now, I just want to hear your comments on this. And I know I just said a lot, but guys, just throw it out there because I know we all sit back and we all conflicted with these thoughts at times.
Awesome. I like that you said you spend so much time with adults. Some time ago I read that spend time with older persons because not everything can be found on Google. No, you can't find everything on the internet as much as we are in a world where we are exposed. But it's very important, and I think that we are just being real. We're being real to ourselves because we are adults, and then of course we are talking to intending adults. So I just want to I saw a comment. I just want to respond to one of the comments I saw, that why is saving difficult for young adults? And if away from relationship, but I know we're engrossed in this one right now. So I feel like saving is difficult, yeah, for some adults because we're in a stage where we're exploring. We're in a stage of exploration. Few years ago, I wasn't interested in owning handbags. I wasn't interested in having wigs. I wasn't interested in makeup. All through my undergraduate days, I think I wore makeup only once in 4 years. Okay, but I am growing away from that stage, and then I'm telling myself, okay, I need to do some of this. It's becoming appealing to me, and that's how I feel like most young adults, a lot of things are appealing to them at this age. And so because it's a stage of exploration, we want to explore, and because of that, most of what we get in as probably stipend are not even enough. But because we want to do more than we are doing currently, we tend to give it all away. So saving can be a bit challenging. But then I I think Sponge now, yeah, when he was talking, spoke about financial literacy. That's where it is important for us to know that no matter how much is earned, it is important to take a portion from it and then put in savings.
Mm. I actually want us to
And
go
again,
more
to
on
add, sorry.
the conversation because I actually saw a comment from Gershon Busak saying, "Why do young adults struggle so much
Oh
with
yeah,
saving?" Guys,
I just
I
wanted
struggle
to
too.
add I
Go
wanted
ahead,
to
Spo.
add to the saving part. Sometimes we can budget and save and forget about emergencies or unexpected crisis or whatnot. That yes, you can save and then something happens out of nowhere, like an emergency pops up. Now your savings, now have to use your savings again to and attend to that matter. But I always feel like in the matter of saving, also try and spare some money for emergencies. You know what I mean? Yes, you do have your savings so that you can do whatever it is that you want to do, but always keep room for these unexpected little glitches that might just come unexpected. You know what I mean, I think that's also another challenge people should look into. And again, with financial literature, it's very hard because we come across taxes and all these different things. But personally, I try to save at least 10% of what I make. It doesn't matter how much it is that I make it, or even if you made that 1,000 rands that particular time, try and save that 100 rands, and then take care of your expenditures, and then probably spoil yourself with whatever is left, or do something good. Because another challenge that I think I had was that I could work so hard and make money, that little money, and then I feel like I owe myself a reward. That what, I actually did works myself so much. I feel like I now want to spoil myself and I reward myself, and that's when I was starting to put my hand in my savings, starting to neglect my financial um, literature in a sense. So yeah, I just wanted to add to that, that even if you're working on your savings, just also consider emergencies, unexpected emergencies, and be careful of you now having to work and earn money and feel like you know what, I now need to spoil myself. I worked so hard for this money, and we tend to lose it there as well.
Mm. Anyone else?
So what I realized recently is that one thing that we young people struggle with, it's twofold. We want to spend everything, just spend, because we want to live our best life. Or like you got, like I think it's Orikile that said that we want to compare. Okay, this guy here on this side is living his best life. I also want to live my best life, so let me emulate what he's doing. But we have different backgrounds, we have different approaches, we have different jobs, we have different pay scales, and I cannot live the life that some of my friends live. In full honesty, like my one friend is an entrepreneur. Yeah, he lives a certain life. I know I can't live like that. So that's the one fold. The second fold is I find more detrimental. And I was having this conversation with my brother, with a couple of my friends, is that we don't save for saving's sake. We save to spend again. Let me explain. So you will find that, okay, I want a car. Okay, I need to save for a deposit. So you're saving to spend it later, right? I'm not saying that's a terrible thing, but how can we as young people grow our wealth? How can we grow further if we're just going to spend our savings in any case? Why not save and then take some of that savings and invest it in some stocks, invest it in some company, invest it in commodities, in forex. If you're into cryptocurrencies, invest it in that, because I don't think it's so much a saving issue. I think it's more of an investment issue, where one thing I wish I was taught was financial literacy when I was younger. I'm going to be 100%. I have a terrible spending habit. Um, A lot of my friends know I'm just that guy that if you want something and I have the money, I can go for it. Another issue that a lot of people have is that we tend to buy things we can't afford, and that's another thing that comes into saving. So I look at it like this: if I can't afford to buy something twice over, I can't afford it, because then I can literally spend my last money on the guitar I want, or a set of golf clubs I want, or whatever the case is. Then I'm left with nothing. But if I can afford it twice, I still have money left over after spending that money. One thing, something that Warren Buffett said, I think it was Warren Buffett, I could be wrong. He said that the problem that we face now is people spend before they save. They save the leftovers. When in actual fact, you should be saving and then spending the leftovers. Reason why is because it's about building wealth. Something I learned very recently, and when I say recently, I mean last month, is that we always have this perception about businesses that a company's sole purpose is to make a profit. That is actually a misdemeanor, because look at it this way: if you look at a company like Tesla, right? Tesla is one of the highest valued companies in the world right now. However, this is the first financial year that Tesla turned over a profit in over 12 years of production. Why is that? Because the purpose of an organization is not to turn a profit, it is to increase the wealth of its investors. It is always about increasing wealth. So we as young people, we must not think, okay, I need to make more money. I don't want to make more money. I want to have more money. I want to have so much that I can give to other people, and that I don't have to worry. Because that's the thing we face, is that we always worried. We always like, okay, how can I do this? How can I do this? How can I do this? Because we are relying on an income. We're not relying on personal wealth and personal finance. One of the most important investments we can make is in our future. And that is not only in a monetary sense. We need to invest in our education. We need to invest in ourselves. We need to invest in our health. This is the biggest mistake that young people make. We are so focused on, I need to make money. I need to have fun. I need to do this. I need to do that. What happens when you have a heart attack at 30? You are still young, but you have a heart attack because you never looked after yourself. It's all about that instant gratification, where if you go to the gym, you want to be the sexy guy, the sexy girl. You want to be the person who is the man, the woman, the alpha. However, your health deteriorates so fast. Like, I know so many people who go to the gym who look healthy, but I can guarantee you, with the stuff they're putting into their body, they are not healthy. It's all of
Yeah.
the investment that we need to focus on is internally. How can we improve our health and improve our wealth?
You've actually shared so many points that I agree with, and unfortunately, we are drawing to a close right now, and I really wish that this conversation could continue. But hey, just know that I will be back, and we're gonna be continuing with this adulting conversation at a later stage, because there's so much more to be shared and to learn. But now, before we close, I'm just gonna give each and every single one of my guests an opportunity just to give us a closing comment from their side, and I will go from Spo to Ryan to Taiwo, and then we'll end off with Ole. So Spo, closing comments.
This was actually quite an insightful conversation. I've learned a lot myself, in terms of, like we said, with relationships. We've got two different views, from the female side of view and from, the male side of view, as how to work and nature those. And secondly, when it comes to balance and financial issues and our growth as individuals, this was also quite insightful. And all I can say is, we should invest in ourselves, we should invest in others, we should invest in our health. And, you know, everything has its time and place. You know what I mean? As long as you know
Mm.
what you want to accomplish, achieve, work towards that slowly by slowly. Social media pressure, Instagram, and whatsoever, try by all means to, and to cut out that noise and focus on yourself and your growth. And yeah, I think that's about it. And if you want to have a peace of mind, get your finances in order.
Yeah, that is so true. We literally have a few seconds left. Ryan, what do you have to say?
What I have to say is, guys, on this adulting journey,
Pardon?
look after yourself and have fun because at the end of the day, you are the most important person in your own life.
True. Taiwo?
All right. I want to say quickly that adulthood is not a scam. It's reality, and all of us will face it because you can only be an adult once in your life. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Ole?
Okay, I'm just because I'm a firm believer in mental health. At the end of the day, make sure that you are healthy in your mind, emotionally, mentally, so that you can go about life making the right decisions and loving yourself and others. All right, thanks.
Thank you so much. This has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you to everyone who has been joining us on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And from me, your host, Steffi Jagger. Bye bye.